2025 is at an end, and this year was so good. I read 25 I read 30 books this year. So my name is Jagriti, and let's begin with this video. It is a 2025 book wrap up. It has all the books that I have read this year and how much I rate them. So let's start it with a classic shot. The first book that we have here is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I give it a 4.5 stars. I like this book. This was my first Kafka and this was so good. It made me face reality, okay? I love this book. And I won't say much about this to spoil, but yeah, this book is good. And if you want to dip your toes into classic and Kafka Square, this book is a must. Would I read more Kafka this year? Of course, I would read it more. So, the next book that we have here is White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. You can tell by the annotations how much I like this book. I love this book so much. It is a 5 on 5 star. It was so good to read. And here's a quote from this book. Don't blame me because I haven't changed in the least toward you. I said that I would love you and I love you now. I more than love you. Oh my god. If only I could love you both at the same time. Oh, if only you were he. This was one of the quotes from this book. This is a must read. Okay, must read. Read this book if you haven't till now. Read it. So the next book in the classic short we have is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice is my favorite novel of all time till now. The character, the story, the character development, the plot, it was so good that I have read this book literally. I have read this 3 times in a span of 1 year. I love this book so much. It is a solid 5 on 5 stars for me, 5 on 5 star, and is a must read. So the next book that we have here is also by Jane Austen. Emma by Jane Austen. Well, this book I gave 4 stars. I love this book. It was also the character, the story. There is just something about Jane Austen, the wit or the things that I feel while reading her book. It's just something else. I just love Jane Austen. She is my favorite author till now. The next book that we have here is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I'd give this book 4 stars. I like this book. The story was good and the character felt relatable. Charlotte Bronte writes relatable characters. Her heroines are just so different from the others. It felt so real and true. This book. I love this too, and this was my first Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte book, and I love Jane Eyre. One more book that I read this year from the classic pile is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I read this book twice to understand the basic plot, and when I complete reading it for the second time, I did understood what this book was about and what the hype is about. I love this book. This was 4.5 stars for me, and this was just so good. In the end, that I want to say is he was never a monster. The world made it like he like him like it. So the next book, okay, classic pilots ended. So let's switch genres. So let's go to thrillers. First thriller that I read this year was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. The most sold thriller. Sorry, the most. I don't think it's thriller. Ha. The most sold mystery of all time. This was. I like this book. 3.75 stars. I love this. I read it in one sitting, I must say that. And the plot was good. My first Agatha Christie, and I would definitely read more Agatha Christie this coming year. So, the next book that we have here is an Indian author, White Nights by Arvind Adiga. I started this book with zero expectations, but till the end, I was shocked. I was like, what happened? What just happened? This book was so good. I never thought I would like this so much. 4 stars. Yeah, 4 star read. It is a must read. If you want to read an Indian author with a hint of mystery, you should read this. It's a coming of age novel. I like this. So the next that we have here is, so let's switch genres actually. The next genre we have here is fantasy. So the first fantasy series that I want to talk about is the series Carnival by Stephanie Garber. 4 star read. Can you believe it that I read this book in a span of 15 days? For me, to read 3 books in 15 days is so much big of an achievement. There is just something about the writing of Stephanie Garber that feels so whimsical and so different. When we are reading a Stephanie Garber novel, it's like it's a display, everything is behind ahead of your eyes. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart series by her last year and I loved the book so much. Was that book better than this series? Yes, that was. That was better. It is my favorite fantasy series till now of all time. I like the book, I like it so much. And Stephanie Garber is one of the authors for me that is like she write and I read just instinctively. She write, I read. Another fantasy series which I read this year is The Fourth Wing. There are 3 books out till now. I read 2 books and I dropped the third book in half. Why? Because I didn't like it. I just couldn't get the hype about this book. It just felt so blunt. There was just, in my opinion, there was no character development. The story was a bit of a cliche, and I just didn't get the hype this book has. It is definitely an overhyped one. Would I continue reading the series? No, absolutely not. I would not complete it. Okay, it's just my opinion. It's not here to hurt anybody. So I just don't like the series. It's just so blunt. That's the genre. So the first book I have here is actually a duology. Days at Morisaki Bookshop and More Days at Morisaki Bookshop. I like the book. It was so good. It is 4.5 stars. I read this book. This felt so cozy. It felt like you are drinking hot chocolate in your comfortable bed with a heater on. I love the book so much that I recommend it to many of my friends to read this book. If you want a cozy escape, these 2 books are the perfect read for you, okay? So the next book that we have here is Almond by Won Pyun. I cried so miserably while reading this book. A 5 and 5 star read. It is such a nice book. I loved it so much. It is a 5 star for me. Okay, it is a must read and must recommend. Then the next book that we have here is You Have Reached Sam by Dustin Thau, and I didn't get the hype of this book at all. It was 2.5 stars. No, I think it was 3 star actually. The book was fine, but I didn't cry and it didn't felt like that. It didn't feel like that. Yeah, that's what I want to say about this book. So the next book that we have here is The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I love this book so much. I read this book in a single setting, okay? I love this so much, so much, much, much. It is a must read, okay? I don't read romance book, but this was just the it book for me. A 5 and 5 star book, okay? I would definitely read more Ashley Poston this year. The next book that we have here is The Stationery Shop of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. Another 4.5 star read. What do I say about this book? It was so sad and the book was so good. I like this particular genre. Like every book in this genre is so good. I love this book so much. I actually am gonna reread it again this year. This book was so good. So the next book that we have here is Normal People by Sally Rooney. My first Sally Rooney, and I didn't like this book that much. It's like a 3-star rate. I like this, but would I reread it again? No, I won't. I just can't get the characters. It was just that, like, I don't get the hype. Okay, this was good, but not that good, I think. Okay, let's give it a 3.5 star. Okay, actually, 3.5 star. It was okay. Next book that I have here is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. A 5-star rate. I like this book so much. I love this book. I love this book. I cried while reading this book. This is my first Frederick Bachman, and it is a book that I recommend to all to read it. Read this book, bro. Why haven't you read it till now? It was just so good, this book. It just made me feel so much at one time. Every chapter in itself is a different story, and every chapter would make you think about life so much. The next book that I have here, Thousand Year Old Boy by Ross Halford. It's a very good book for children, or I think preteens. It's a very good book. I like this book. I read this book in like 3 days. It was good. The characters were good. This is a 3.75 stars. I like this book. Okay, it was fun to read this one. It was fun. I am gonna read more Roswell for this year. There are two books mentioned here. I think I would read one book, which is Crime Traveling with a Hamster, because I like the front cover and I like the name. So the next book that I have here is The Boy in Stripped Pajamas by Joan Boyne. Here this book is. So unexpectedly it ended. It is a 4.75 stars. So unexpected. So unexpected. I like this book. I read this book in a single sitting. Okay, this was good, but the ending was unexpected and eye-opening, I must say. Next book that we have here is actually an Hindi literature. My first Premchand, Nirmala by Premchand. I like this book. Why do I like? I love this book. Okay, I love this book. My first Premchand, and I adore this book. All of the books are not ended actually. Here are a few books which I didn't like. These two books, I think, by Irina Kent. I read these two books, and I wanna sue the author. How can she write this book? I don't have words to say. I don't have words to explain. I didn't like this at all. It wasn't good to read this, but why do I read it? Because a friend recommended me this book. There is something else. I don't like this genre. Like romanticizing serious issues is not at all fun. Okay, I don't want to say anything about this book. A 0-star read. Now, all the books have ended, and now here we have our top 5 pile. Okay, the top 5 pile is here. So the top one of this year would be Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. I have talked about that book already, but once again, it was my best read of the year. On number 2, we have The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read this book this November and I fell in love with the book. I love this book so much. The characters, the plot, it felt as so real, and I like the aftermath of the whole event so much. I get now why this book is so much hyped on Bookstagram and BookTube. It was 5.5 stars. All the book in here are 5.5 stars. Okay. So the next book that we have is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So unexpected. I read this book so unexpectedly, and I don't know what to say. In this book, every character is equally flawed. I like this book so much. Like every character is like you. There is no particular lovable character in this book. It took me a bit time to understand the basic premise of the book, but the book was so good, and I don't want to spoil anything about this book. Okay, you should read it. Next book that we have is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. A lovable book, a lovely book. I read this book. I gave time to this book. I read this book like in 1 month, and it was worth it. I read every chapter so with so much interest. My first Murakami, an absolute lovely book this was. I won't say lovely, it was good in a way that made you feel bad. It was just so good. 5 on 5 star, a definite read, and I would definitely read another Murakami book this year, which would probably be Kafka on the Shore. So, the number 5 place is actually shared by two books. So, the first book is The Great Gatsby, a popular book, and I have read this book 2 times. I like this book so much. It's just so short and it's just so much. Yeah, I love this book. 5 on 5 star. Every book on this pile, my top 5 pile, is 5 on 5 star. Okay. The next book that we have here on top 5 is the book Thief by Marcus Ziska. This was a big read, but the time that I gave reading this book was worth it. A completely worth it, appropriately hyped book. It was just so good to read this book. I cried. Few times I cried, and you have to read a book which is narrated by death itself. So here was all of my books that I read this year. I think I missed a few books because I generally read books from library, and I don't know. That was all, and so if you have watched till here, so thank you very much that you have watched it, and I love you all so much. Okay, it means a lot for a new creator that somebody is watching their content. Thank you so much. I would see you in the next video, which would also be about books. Yeah, see you all.